Talk about Drake.
Okay.
I don't have an AbTab. Okay, it's gonna be us on screen when we go live. So here we go.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, do a funny face.
Hi everyone. I'm gonna start talking now that we're live because definitely started live earlier. I wanted to start talking to make sure the audio worked, but if everybody else could also make sure the audio works, but it definitely caught us a little before. No, but I think we're good. Hello everyone. Welcome to the pool party.
Hey everyone.
Yes. This is a lot of fun. I've seen some really cool games this weekend, and so we wanted to just do a stream with the four of us to hang out with everybody. And this is almost like the cookout at the end of the pool party. Maybe that's this is the cookout stream.
Everybody, it's like, hey guys, hot dogs are ready. Everybody
climb
comes
out
out
of
of
the
the
pool.
pool, and you're still like wet, and you still smell like chlorine, but you're eating hot dogs, and life is good. Somebody bought a couple party-sized bags of Doritos. There's Cooler Ranch, nacho cheese.
Capri Sun. We got Capri
there's-
Suns.
Yes!
I'm having
Capri
white
Sun.
bread, bologna,
Oh,
cheese,
yes.
mayo. No
Oh my
pickle.
God.
Hold the pickle. Not now.
Hold
Not
the
now.
pickle.
Not
I just
now.
swam. Are
And
you
you're-
an animal?
And
I'm
your
a bo-
grandma's like, now we have to wait 45 minutes. And you're like, like,
And then you try to ignore her, and then you do get a cramp under your chin, and she was right. You're like, duh, got it. How did I get a chin cramp?
You can't tell her, too. You certainly can't let her know that she was right.
But she knows. I see
Oh,
you
she
over
knows.
there holding your chin.
No, I'm okay. You're struggling to stay afloat.
And since there
so-
are people in the chat, I think that this is definitely a public pool. So I'm gonna go to the snack bar and get myself like a bottled ooze that will remove all my taste buds from the level of sourness. And I'm just gonna squeeze the whole thing into my mouth
Oh, I
and let it
love it.
sit there for a moment before I
man.
swallow it.
Oh.
do you
Well,
guys remember the squeezies? The plastic bottle juice with the face on it, and it had you had to twist the top off, and
Yep.
it was basically just high fructose corn syrup, but it
Oh,
was
yeah.
so good.
Colored high
Remember,
fructose
I
corn
had one
syrup.
2 weeks ago. They still
I might-
hold up.
Had
They
one
still sell
recently.
those little barrels of sugar. They look like little.
Yeah, they
little,
do.
It's like just that's it. It's,
I pour a little
it's
in
like
my coffee sometimes,
Well, I think it's the same factor.
It's sugar.
It's an
just
Irish
pouring it into
3-year-old
the-
coffee.
Oh my god.
Well, if you are hanging out, we're gonna just we will hang out. Obviously, try and stop us from behaving like this. It's not possible. But we also are gonna give you some information about an upcoming Kickstarter, and then of course some projects that we have been working on behind the scenes. But for now, I think we're all just at the snack bar with Parker, drinking Uzis, not the
Burning
guns.
our taste buds off.
Playing Turtles in Time on the arcade machine.
And, oh man,
shit.
I spent
Got
way
'em
too much
both,
money
yeah.
on that.
Oh man.
How is
This-
everybody doing in the chat? Maybe a call out in the chat is nice. What are
Yeah.
you, everyone
Who's
shout
here?
out your favorite magic card or your favorite Pokemon. I don't know why.
No, everyone.
Shout
What's your
it.
favorite
Don't type
flavor
it,
of
though.
Otter Pop? And
Yellow-
why is it
Ooh, and why is it blue?
strawberry shortcake?
My favorite Otter Pop flavor and my favorite Pokemon are the same thing, which
The
is Rick
same
Rubin.
one.
It's Rick Rubin.
It's Rick
Rubin?
Rubin.
Rick Rubin.
Rick
Oh,
Rubin,
Rick-
the producer?
Yes, this is his favorite Pokemon, and what was it?
Pokemon.
Flavor of something?
Yeah, that's what. Well, when have you ever seen Rick Rubin outside of producing a band? They take him out of his Pokeball.
Right,
They
he's just-
throw him into the studio with a band
Rick
that's been
Rubin.
around for 20 years.
I
and he's
choose
like,
you.
He's like, yeah, we got to get back to your roots.
For a second, I thought that Rick Rubin like produced the Pokemon song, and so I'm googling Rick Rubin Pokemon, finding nothing. Like, what the hell did I-
It was him and Jay-Z. He's like, you crazy for this one, Rick? It's
Rick
your
Rubin
boy.
used a platinum album. It's super effective.
I don't. I don't want to be a downer here, but I think that we're actually streaming on the wrong Absolute Tabletop account right now.
Oh, that's the best. That is absolutely the best. Because I was
We're
like, wow,
streaming
only a
on
couple
an Absolute
subscribers.
Tabletop account that has 2 subscribers versus the one that has like multiple hundreds of subscribers.
Oh my
Why do we
gosh,
have
okay.
multiple Absolute Tabletop?
So-
accounts?
Barker,
That's
your
my
guess
fault.
is as good.
No,
maybe
it's not.
better
It's the
than
way
mine.
not.
Google works. We have 2
the way
Tabletop
Google works.
Terrorist accounts. Like,
They
there's your
split-
I
Google
have a
account and your
Barker and
YouTube.
oh my gosh.
They
All
split
right.
everything into
Can I-
your Gmail and your YouTube.
Hi to both of our subscribers.
Big up.
Shank
Big
range.
up.
No longer a public pool. It's now a awkward hot tub.
So what's really interesting, Barker, is I thought it was my fault, but because I'm blaming you. Whoever made the event But the funny thing is, I was so afraid that it was me, but it was the one I found it on, so I had a little roller coaster while we were sitting here of really thinking it was my fault, and then, like, being real, oh my god.
It happens to the best of us.
But it was the first one I clicked on, so I would have done the same thing.
It's super easy to just save this and put it up on the right account afterwards if we want.
Okay, that's good. That's a good way to
If you made it this far in the VOD after this stream, can you comment 8-ball corner pocket in the comments? Nobody who's watching the stream is allowed to comment that 8-ball corner pocket. I just want this is an experiment. I want to see something.
Shank Ranger.
Yeah, I was just watching a show with a guy, and he said there's no in sobriety, because he asked somebody, this is a ridiculous story to tell, but it was really poignant. He goes, oh, so how long you've been sober? You know, he's like at the group. And the kid goes, and he goes, there's no in sober. He's like, you know. It was just a very interesting thing to say. So when you said I don't know why, it reminded me of that. I was just watching it.
I feel like there's layers in that joke.
Right?
As someone who's sober, like, you know, it kind of makes it you remember the date. So if you say, you know, some people might think, oh, it's not real. That's not, everyone's an individual. But that's I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see one of those layers.
It was in like a what was it, Peter Farrelly written style thing. It's like one of those that has a lot of those lines that are like seem so real, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I want to point out that Meredith Gerber's in the chat, and she said, "Y'all are doing your best."
Meredith,
self-love.
Which is just
5
like
subscribers.
The most, like, head patty.
Classic.
Like, you guys are trying really hard. I
You
understand.
guys got it. Well, yeah.
Hey,
what
Meredith.
is Meredith Gerber helped us out with social media a while back. She's incredible at this. She's an absolute expert at this. So let me ask you, Meredith, right now. How do you feel about companies that have 2 different YouTube channels with 2 different sets of subscribers? Good thing or bad thing?
Is that
Not
a
putting all your
burden
eggs.
or an edge? A feature or a bug?
A burden or an edge.
Hellmage brought the potato salad, but they also ate all of the potato salad, so a little bit of a bittersweet situation there.
Sorry, it took me way too long to cook those hot dogs. The grill
That's
wasn't
pretty
on
real.
for like the first 40 minutes.
Somebody
We
brought
didn't
frozen
have a
stuff.
chimney for the briquettes, so we just had to wait for them to get up to the right. It took like an hour.
DJ has
Find
to
a
give a real
newspaper
answer.
nowadays.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite Otter Pop is the
Berries.
white or pink. I didn't even know that makes sense. Their colors.
White or pink? What Otter Pops are you eating?
Oh my gosh, guys! I'm gonna
White.
be honest. I don't know. I don't think I know what an Otter Pop is. White
Hold
or
on,
pink.
I'll go
I'm
get an
like,
Otter
yeah.
Pop. I'll be right back.
Oh, you've got one. That's the best. You've
I'm
got
gonna
one more
go
subscriber
too.
now, guys. Don't subscribe to this one.
No, I'm gonna go get an Otter Pop too, but I have to go to the grocery store.
Oh yeah, right. It's
gonna
gonna
be
be
a
a
while.
little bit longer.
Can we talk about Matt's jacket while he's up and away?
I was just thinking. I was like, dude, that thing could stand in for me in this stream. He's got more swagger than I've got sitting here.
More swagger.
That looks like a Marrow helmet.
Oh my
It
gosh.
really does.
Doesn't that look like a Marrow helmet from Dead Man's
You know what I
Curtain?
want to do? I want to get that pin and then have my wife sew a little red veil on it.
This is a really elongated way to tell people we're setting up Dragongrin pins. Oh, Otter Pop. Oh man, we got the longer, way off-brand ones. I
Can
did
you
not
see-
know those
can you
things were
see
called
the
Otter
cold
Pops.
coming off of them? Can
I
you see
can.
that?
It's like smoke.
Yes.
I can.
These babies are
1
ice
ounce.
cold.
You should open them both at the same time, fold them in half, and just double up.
I used to. So,
That's the super
Can we
shotgun.
call
We
that
call
a-
that the super shotgun.
I was gonna say, can we call that the super shotgun?
oh, it's, the best part is that I used to do that while playing Halo 2. So
Oh
that's
my gosh.
that's even better.
I
The
love
super shotgun. Good
Dude.
lord. It's got a grappling hook on the bottom of it.
it.
So,
Ain't the Otter
do
Pops
you-
I remember.
do you bite the plastic? So I don't know. This is just how you find out people's lives.
Right?
Do I bite
Yeah.
the plastic
Yep.
so that it's not cold to my teeth, and then I
crunch it up. Yep.
and then I
Absolutely.
pull it in. Yep. My wife
I hate it.
is
I hate it.
a trained assassin. Her teeth have no nerve endings, and she bites ice cream.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Whoa. No.
And she doesn't have small teeth. Like, she's a beautiful woman, but that is a sight.
She's got that double enamel. She's like, what? You guys? She's biting into ice cream like apples.
Do you not chew ice cream when you take a bite of ice cream?
I
Do you
mean,
I
she
do.
goes
I-
like this. She lets her
Like
front
with her
and
teeth.
bottom
like,
teeth.
Not with the, but with the tongue,
Sinful.
the lip situation.
Dante
Not-
put those people in the inferno. Sorry.
Dude, I
Tell him
saw
like
her
you're
do
going.
that.
Sorry.
I saw her do that when we were dating, and I was like, "Oh!" Like, that's
You're
her
like
backstory.
about to propose, and then she takes a bite of ice cream, and you just slowly put the ring back in your pocket.
I go, "Oh."
Thrain says Flintstone's push pops are greater than Otter Pops. I don't
Can
think
I-
you're wrong, but they're just like in different arenas. Like,
They are.
Those are two very different. An Otter Pop is a popsicle, and that the
Flintstone Pop.
Flintstones
kinda
push
like
pops
saying-
are more like an ice cream or a sherbet.
Yeah, like a sherbet.
Kind of like
actually, I
saying a
think.
milkshake is
Yeah.
better than Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
like,
right.
okay,
You're
well.
like, yeah, it is.
different things. Yeah.
But I'm with Thrain, Nathan that I'm in on both. Okay.
Oh yeah, right.
I'm like
Matt.
50, if I'm not going to be like, ooh, Flintstones push pop. You don't have any Otter Pops? No thanks. I'll abstain from any.
Yeah,
No,
like
I'll
I
take a Flintstone.
I don't know a single person that is getting up from the stream and running to their freezer to get a Flintstone push pop. Like that's the thing. I'm like, I don't think you can get those.
Yeah, finding those is like finding Dunkaroos. I mean, it happens,
Ooh.
but they started making them again sometime because they have them all over now. Dunkaroos.
Oh man, I love Dunkaroos. That's why our next project is gonna be a Dunkaroos guide to Dragongrin.
That's it. And you know what? It's gonna be a basketball RPG with
kangaroos.
It's called Dunkaroos. Yeah, it's got kangaroos, so it's
It's an alternate timeline where the Dismembered Lord is a basketball playing kangaroo.
That's
And then I think
exactly right.
The year after that, we're gonna kickstart the legal bills for basing something on Dunkaroos.
We're gonna kickstart the
Dunkaroos, Dunkaroos IP lawyers are the best in the biz.
It's
Meredith did say, then again, it's double the fun with 2 YouTube channels. So I think we should just start a stream on the other one and own it. at the
we gotta
same
do.
time.
We'll just like reskin Hanna-Barbera, and we'll just call it Hanna-Barbarians.
We'll base the name of it on the name of the creator. That we didn't plagiarize.
That all tracks to me.
Hellmage Matthew does say, "Oh dang, Dragongrin adventure where a band of Marrow." I was ready for the joke here, but it wasn't a joke. It was just a cool idea. Where a band of Marrow has broken away and become like fantasy skull-wearing biker gang members, terrorizing Jahar. I am now just imagining like biker mice from Mars, but on the dunes of Jahar. So
Yeah,
just
hell
like
yeah.
animal, like big, like anthropomorphic mice, like riding alongside the elder worms. You know, like that's the intro. There's just like shredding guitar for the character intros.
And then the street sharks show up too.
Oh, they're yeah, but they're desert sharks. They like swim in the
they're
sand.
They're like Bulette.
Oh yeah.
They're street sharks, so they have legs and arms, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look.
Okay, so they don't do
basically
much
like-
swimming. Well, they might. They do it only when they're working out. They don't.
They do a
swim
lot of
No, the whole
digging.
thing
unless
with
they're at
street
the gym.
sharks. The whole thing with street sharks was they would go under the street and you would see their fin.
They would do a Bugs Bunny under
digging
the
under
street.
the street.
They would
Yeah.
like destroy the whole city all the time.
Every episode was like tens of thousands of dollars of public property damage.
Just to get from one place to another.
It'd be so easy to find them because you could just follow the enormous cracks that all led to their lair, like a spider
Yeah.
web from a satellite.
I would like to see a 5-minute like micro animated film of through the eyes of just a worker trying to take the bus to work or home or visit their grandma or something, but these damn street sharks are tearing up the streets and they just can't get there. I want to see it through the life of the innocents affected by this.
He's like sleeping, and he just hears, and he's like, "God damn it, street shark!" He like opens up the window. He's like, "People are trying to sleep."
This is how supervillains are made.
Jake, Mini Terrain Domain is in the chat, and he says, "I'm over here biting my moose tracks with magic shell, saying, is this not normal?" No, you also have you got the chassis on your teeth that gives you the extra enamel armor. That's people biting ice cream. They don't understand. They don't know what it feels like.
The magic shell.
The magic
That
shell
helps.
is like armor points in Mecha Hack.
Like
It is,
insulation.
yeah.
Ice
It
cream
gives you damage
insulation.
resistance to cold damage.
Thought for a second
yeah.
there was like, we're talking, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get all my teeth removed and replaced with teeth that I can't feel with, and so I'll just bite into all the ice cream I want.
Everything.
That's
yes.
it. That's the upside to dentures.
I think that's why
one of my
George Washington had wood teeth.
That's it.
That's why he did it, so he could
Biting
so he
ice
could
cream.
bite into Flintstones push-ups.
Yeah. One of my favorite reoccurring gags in Tim and Eric is every product, no matter what the product is, requires the person to remove their teeth. Like, it's a simple process. First, the teeth are removed, and it just like shoes the like teeth getting pulled out.
Pulling them all
It's like
out.
it doesn't even matter if it involves their mouth or their teeth. It's just like first the teeth are removed.
I love that. Yeah.
We have a
We have
question.
some questions. Yeah,
Some
questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So the first question comes from Meredith Gerber. She asks, what are you looking most forward to for AbTab's 2021? I think that's a pretty good segue into something that Barker wanted to talk about.
Okay, sure. Well,
I can
Or
tee you
not.
up. I was gonna say I can tee you up for that. Either you can go after I say it, or we could totally go a different direction. Because the thing I'm most excited about is that we have started to firm up some of our processes, and like right now, the way we make books is a bit like a frat house situation. It's just kind of it's like, hey, what
The
do
best
we do
and
again?
worst way to say it.
It kind of is, where we all know how to do it and we get it done, but we do it without following any sort of meaningful checklist. We're like, oh yeah, we know what to do.
can I say we're the
you know, like
kind
a
of
frat
people
house.
who say, "Oh, this is the wrong YouTube channel to stream on." Crap.
Yes.
But imagine, learning the hard way and garnering this excellent experience over 6 years of putting out books without a process, and every single book is like, we have that moment where we're like, oh, who forgot to put Shadows over Drift Chapel on Drive Through RPG?
Like a year,
4 months
or-
after. Yeah, 4 months
Yeah.
is optimistic.
And then
That's when we
the
noticed.
always like we would be releasing a book, and that's when we'd go, oh, we've been meaning to write that product description.
Oh, yeah.
And so while, but I think, so the thing that excites me the most is that we are building checklists that make it so that we can just show up and do the things in order and focus our energies on being creative. And one of those things is an upcoming crowdfunded project that we're using the process on. So I'm excited that we're not being surprised by things.
And Meredith helped us a great deal in this effort of firming up our processes regarding to social media by kind of getting us to think in terms of checklists and such.
Mhm.
So if you're interested in being better at social media, it is somewhat ironic coming from us that we're talking about this, because after that wonderful month of extraordinary information from Meredith, we got hit with a bunch of new projects and kind of tabled some things like that in order to move forward and move in other directions. But the value of that information was so incredible, and has only been made better by working with Eddie Webb from Onyx Path Publishing, Pug Steady, which has a Kickstarter right now, Squeaks in the Deep. You want to talk about animals, and if you like sort of animal style, that's a
French
that's
fries.
a burger.
Yeah. Animal style. Double
fries.
from, what is that, an
In-N-Out
In-N-Out, I
burger
think?
Yeah. If you like
Barker's hungry.
mustard-based RPGs that are boiled in mustard, made just everything about it is
If you're
mustard.
into a Megawana
Actually-
chimichanga,
Wet with queso.
wet with
You
queso,
really should
yeah, you're
check
gonna...
out- you really should check out Squeaks in the Deep, but he's helping us with our processes. But like Tim said, that one of the things that we're doing as we kind of like push out this bottleneck of stuff that we have been wanting to release for a while, a lot of that is dealing with international shipping situations and VAT in the UK and the EU. And but a lot of other stuff is on the horizon that I'm really excited about. If the answer were 2022, I would say Harbinger, and I want Matt to maybe talk a little bit about that. But we also have some other stuff coming up for Dragongrin. But this year, we are going to kickstart our next adventure kit, which means we will have 3 adventure kits, which I think is like the cool sweet spot. The first one that we made was Oath of the Frozen King, set in the world of Dragongrin. Tim and James, their baby that we have spent the last few years really developing in detail. Classic dungeon delve to take down a cursed undead tomb, rife with undead rather, and the central figure is this frozen skeletal monstrosity that wants to keep you from succeeding. Really cool, classic dungeon delve. The second one we made was the adventure kit Shadows Over Drift Chapel, which is a Lovecraftian. That's Matt Click and Tim Carney pushed that out. It is a Lovecraftian homage, dark, inky wretchedness, the eldritch horrors, the fog of a seaside town that has been corrupted by horrible things, and the what it takes to solve the problems therein. And these adventure kits are always filled with NPCs and encounters and locations that are modular, so you can really move them around and use this encounter in this location, or decide, you know what, no, I was going to use this encounter, but I'm going to move that, and I'm going to put this encounter in, and this is a perfect spot to take this NPC and put them in. You can do all that stuff on the fly. You can also prep it as much as you'd like, and each adventure kit offers tools for both. So that's probably my favorite part of adventure kits, is how versatile they are when it comes to your prep style, because it's really everything you need, nothing you don't. And you can, like I think Tim Carney mentions it, like kind of like a model kit. You take the pieces and you glue it together, and all you need is the glue and the steady hand. And the third adventure kit that we are putting out soon on Kickstarter is a mass combat battlefield centered adventure that takes place in the world of Enkea, which has been brewing and forming in my mind for the last 6 years. And we're finally getting some concrete ideas of what it is, what drives the world. This hyper magic setting based on a singular event hundreds of years ago, in which all the people realized the beyond thermonuclear power of the arcane arts, if in wrong hands, and all they did to not it, except to give everyone what they need, to abolish starvation and waste in one stroke, using potent and near catastrophic amounts of arcane magic as carefully as possible. And this adventure kit is going to be called The Battle for Arctor's Vault. Arctor's Vault is a source holding much of the magical relics from hundreds of years ago, and is used to power, so to speak, an adjacent orchard. The orchards have spent hundreds of years feeding the surrounding people, and yet now there's something wrong in these orchards. The weather is turning strange, and a blight is infesting the orchards themselves, the fruit itself, and people are on the move. And with the fear of starvation ahead of them, masses have formed to take the fight into the Emelian orchards themselves. And so the battle for Arctor's Vault is about to begin, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But I wanted to see if any of you had any questions or things that you wanted to say. I'm talking to James, Matt, and Tim right now, but also to the chat. Anything to ask or mention about Enkea, your perspective of Enkea, what it's been like to work through an adventure kit without any process, and then insert a process into the working on the adventure kit. And it's been a massive learning curve, definitely for me. The last thing I'll say before I turn it over to all of you is that the greatest blessing has been building this adventure kit and formulating this kit on the shoulders of Oath of the Frozen King and Shadows Over Drift Chapel, because if it weren't for those, I wouldn't have the ground to stand on. So this kit does aim to take adventure kits to the next level, we have some cool ideas for stretch goals that I don't want y'all to let me forget. But ultimately, it's because the previous adventure kits were so good. Tim, Matt, thank you so much. And that this one is just jumping into the next level. And another final special thanks for the processes and such that have recently helped us move forward to crowdfunding. So thanks, Meredith. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah.
Okay, now that was a funny final note. Go ahead, guys. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that the way that most people are probably familiar with the setting of Enkea is the Winds of Cerceline campaign that we played in a bygone age on Barker's YouTube channel. That's how most people are probably familiar with the setting, and so I think everyone's gonna be pretty excited with what is in this book and the way that Enkea has kind of grown over the years as Barker has continued to think about it and world build and talk to us about it. It is a incredibly unique world that truly only Barker could build. I truly mean that. I think that there is a lot of Barker in this world, and Barker has such a good head for, like, I don't know, just like his history and historical context and tangible things in the real world, and then taking that and putting it in this, as he describes it, this hyper magical world where magic is not only an everyday thing, but intrinsic to how the things work in the world. It is a really, really interesting setting that I absolutely cannot wait to explore, both in finishing production of this adventure kit and using it. I think people are going to be really jazzed with it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and it's been really cool knowing where Enkea started, and then just watching world develop. And you know, one of the things that excites me about where Enkea is headed is the hyper magic is something that Barker, like Matt said, you're able to say, what would a society really do with this? And then point to 3 real wars and 7 historical stories of oil and other resources and how that would work and how that would world build in all of that, but it never feels too dense. It's like those beautiful layers that are all there so that you understand. It's like when you taste a dish that you know has depth of flavor, like a gumbo or something, that's just, you don't know all the ingredients that are in there and what's coming together, but you don't need to because it's a good bite. That's how I feel about Enkea. It's not like, oh, here we go, time to crunch geopolitical things in my brain. It's not presented that way. It's almost like hardcore history meets Star Wars in this really cool way. So I love all the behind the scenes, and then I love to see how it actually shapes in the book and the rich lore in between that's kind of between the lines.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is being a part of a company and getting to see... Oh, sorry, I think you're muted, Barker. But
I was just saying thank you. Go ahead. Hardcore history meets Star Wars is the best way to, ask me on a date, actually.
Let's go for ice cream.
Non-biters only. Oh yeah, I'm really interested in I got to see what Enkea was a long time ago, and being around it taking shape. It's been the same with Dragongrin, right? I remember talking to Tim about Dragongrin. It's so interesting to see those two things next to each other, because Enkea was so different before, but in the same respect, what made it so exciting has remained. And that's a really interesting concept to me, because so much has changed that it's really interesting, I don't know, just from a content standpoint, to see how it becomes more and more Enkea every day, based on things Barker has showed me. Like, he'll collect a bunch of art for, like, his idea, and it's a bunch of different art of similar things, right? But it gives you this very specific impression. Nkea has always been Nkea, even though the map has changed slightly and the setting maybe changed slightly and the timing and the, it's like, I don't know. I guess a shorter way to say all of that is Nkea has come so far and shifted so slightly. It's always been very unique in a way that I haven't seen, and it's almost weird to not. I don't know. There are a lot of bad phrases to say it, but to not see the needle move much. What it tells me is Barker was like, no. I have known what I wanted since the beginning. I'm just getting better and getting more tools, more chances to tell everybody what that is. And I feel like this is the first big chance that we get to see Nkea, the way we saw Dragongrin and the way we saw Gloam and the way we saw, well, I guess, Oath of the Frozen King, And that is so exciting to me, because some of the art is going to be unlike anything I've ever seen in an RPG. Some that hasn't even existed, right? I'm not foreshadowing. I'm excited to see some of the stuff that Barker has described, basically. So yeah, it really, really exciting adventure kit.
Thank you so much. There is a part of me that often thanks past Barker for starting our campaign in Sur Saline, because that's the only place that hasn't changed. Everything else, right. My idea for everything else has just like grown and grown and grown. And I remember pitching the Winds of Sur Saline campaign on the Ignite Inspire the Story YouTube channel, Be a Better Game Master then, about this low magic setting, and how and I think this might explain what you meant by the needle not moving, is that it is altered into this hyper magical setting, but in a way where magic is infrastructural. It's not seen as much as you might think. You can still be in a very low magical place, and then you're in a almost a medieval style market, and two people will exchange their money. They'll be buying goods, and they'll hold their wrists together, and they'll glow as these embedded C's inside of their wrists exchange the currency, and then they walk away. That's hyper magic. We don't need to see it happening on the streets for it to be very magical. And
it's cool. Everywhere. Yeah
It's almost like it's this idea of like, what if magic was like smartphones and tablets and electricity, where it's like, I use a phone every day. I have no idea. I couldn't pop this open and know how it works or make my own phone, but I use it every day. And I feel like that's magic in Nkea, where it's like, I can plug in and get power, and that's it. It's good enough for me. I don't know how it works. I can't shoot electricity from my fingers, but I know that I can plug into a wall and power my laptop and work on it. So
I feel like you found a way, because when you were saying that, like right before that, I was thinking, it's like electricity. Because when you are at home, depending on where you live, obviously, when I'm at home, there's electricity all around me. Like you said, hyper electrical. But it's not. I plug stuff in and I use it. So many things are plugged in to do what I'm doing right now, and I've taken it for granted double, right? You sort of managed to say hyper magic, or you managed to say, like, magic is like what it would be like if we really had magic. You know what I mean? Likened it to I don't know. That's what's so unique about Nkea. All the rest, but like that part is just so often we describe other worlds saying, it's like this with this, and it's like this with this, and Nkea, to me, you can't do that as easily, especially because I feel like it's something that I love doing and I excel at, but it's like, it's hard to pin Nkea down, which is a good thing, because you're like, I can't really liken that to anything in particular, but man, it's so Nkea, I don't know. I've been excited about Nkea for years, so it's really fun.
And that's like, let's jump into some art so people can see what we're talking about. But I want to say that the two things that have really helped me have been first of all, the back and forths between you three. Just being able to be like, I want there to be a place where time moves in slow motion. I want there to be a region where time moves in slow motion because of a cataclysm that once occurred. And then Tim jumps in and is like, okay, well, what kind of people go in there on purpose? And so we just like the back and forth between that. And then secondly, the art that we've been doing has, and the art director, Tim here, everyone, James, Matt, your opinions about all the art that's come through, and Tina Terranova, TMT Nova on Twitter has just brought Nkea to life for me, giving me both what I expect, and yet something that completely blows me away. And I would love to share some art pieces with everyone watching, if that's okay with all of you.
Absolutely. And I
think that sounds
am
great. I'm ready to see how it
tracking
works.
down the questions, so we will get to those. So I have them
Sweet.
jotted down. Those are not
yeah.
going to get lost in the chat.
Perfect. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible because we want to keep it to an hour. Our Otter Pop discussion was mandatory. Nobody ever talked bad about that. Mandatory. Here we go. Let's chat about Enkea.
It worked. Perfect. Okay. And you still everybody still gets to see us. So.
Everyone sees this? Is it working?
Yeah.
Good. This is a last levy interloper. The last levy is the single force in Enkea that could possibly be described as military. Their whole objective is to keep the wretched, the horrible beings who would take magic and twist it for their own greedy uses, and keep them from being able to do so. This is an interloper, specifically an elite covert agent dispatched to Adrian Pass, where the adventure kit takes place, into these orchards, not to fight the battle that's coming per se. The battle is kind of a centerpiece or a surrounding environment around what's happening. But in secret, the Durakus Initiative, which is a legend, they're an apocalyptic cult that believes that the stasis that Enkea is in, the utopia, is blasphemous. And the only way to turn it around is to unleash the magic, end the world so that the natural order of things can continue, the ebbs and the flows of life and the world. They want to do this by killing everybody and by hurting. And this last levy interloper is one of the NPCs in the battle for Arctor's Vault. And as the characters, the party characters, become embroiled in the conflicts in Adrian Pass, they will meet this person and have to make some choices. That's one of the big things I want to make concretely important in this adventure kit, is that there are choices about who you side with, who you help, and who you befriend, and who you don't, that will benefit you in different ways. James has been a huge help in developing the NPCs, the non-party characters, in ways that make it easy for a GM to say something like, okay, you help this person, this is the benefit you get. Not just a benefit like a weapon or a trinket, although those will be there, but also campaign spanning benefits. Someone who will help you down the road no matter where you go in the whole campaign. And I didn't mention this before, I kind of failed to mention this, but NK is a hyper magic setting. If you have a low magic setting, like any other adventure kit, this can be a region. This can be just a single place. It can be an interplanar dimension. If it's completely low magic, but they've slipped out into something, you can remove the muskets entirely and give this person a sword. But this musket is so rad. You know, crush it.
Yeah, why would you do that, right? But you can.
Yes, you can. You absolutely can. If you're completely against that, this rifle, I want a replica. Actually, not a replica. I want one that fires and allows me to adjust the runes to change the ammunition type. And so that's a last levy. Go ahead, Tim.
It's an actual. So we do this, and then what it shoots is a taser.
Set for stun.
Barker, Jeremy in the chat is wondering if you could speak briefly to the heritage of this character. It's the species.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about Enkea, the wider Enkea. Enkea is like Star Wars. It's hyper magic. There's magic pouring out of the intraversible thicket on the edge of the map. There's magic pouring out of the ground. There's so much being tapped into to power these systems, these infrastructures, that this energy, which I'm calling Varia right now, it's creating elementals of itself that the last levy has to hunt down and crush before they turn into monsters. These are monstrous beings that attack and feed and spread. And so all of this hyper magic, it has a cost. But one of the benefits is vivid expression, sprawling roots of heritage, nigh infinite types of life forms, and it's countless, and it's continuing to be countless. More and more and more emerge all the time. And so I cannot tell you the name of this being, this, this heritage, but Tina has been excellent in her art in applying animal traits to humanoid figures. And we're going to see another one in a little bit, but I would maybe guess that this is a sort of reptilian or amphibious being that can see in the dark, maybe breathe underwater, and perhaps even camouflage themselves into their surroundings, though I'm not so sure about that latter one. But we'll have humanoids, again, think Star Wars. We'll have humanoids, lots of humanoids, predominantly humanoids, but we also have a general, a last levy general in this adventure kit that is gelatinous. An incredibly smart, sentient, gelatinous being that plays war games. And so that really excites me. And I thank you for asking that question. Before I move on, do you three have anything to add?
I don't think so.
Cool. Well, let's look at some of the groups of people. This is a member of the Crossley League. The Crossley League is a lot of different factions in one. They've been using these orchards for centuries, and they have they're the most at a loss if the orchards decay because of the blight or are destroyed because of the weather patterns that are changing, and you're going to see more of that in a little bit. What makes the Crossley League very interesting to me is that they have not fought in battle in hundreds of years. The civilization forged by the event that introduced all this magic to the world has made it so people didn't need to fight. And so they revere their ancestors and the peace that they brought. But in the wake of this battle, they have had to dig up the ceremonial arms and armor and from graves of their ancestors. They have had to open the tombs because there was no time to forge new weapons and armor. They've had to pull the beautiful ceremonial blades that have spent centuries hanging over the fireplace off of it and sharpen it again so that they can bring it to the battle, because it's all happening so fast. And so this is you see a couple really neat things about this character. I love what Tina did with that helmet. It's very Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze. I don't want to dive too much into the analogs, but Tim and his back and forth with Tina just absolutely nailed the mixture of the ceremonial armor, the Gorgon, the Medusa type being, all the snakes, the beautiful sword, but also with the there's a type of armor that's almost, a lot of these phrases are not real. We just put pins in them, but it's almost like if you could 3D print really basic armor, very rudimentary. It doesn't work very well. Almost like maybe the equivalent of like a soft, very soft hide armor in your standard role-playing game. But you can see these places where the ceremonial armor was chopped and then patched up by this newer armor. You can even see a bullet wound from centuries ago where this person's ancestor took a killing shot and perhaps died in this armor. And so these people are very honored to wear and channel wear the clothes and channel the honor of their ancestors while defending the future of their people to not starve to death. It's a little bit serrated, and kind of like Stormtrooper armor, Michael Anderson. I think that's what you're talking about. It's a little bit like Stormtrooper armor, where it's like, listen, this doesn't do much at all, but it's better than nothing, and it's very lightweight, and it can be made like that.
Yep. And Jeremy, a few people have mentioned the sword, but Jeremy specifically had that sword has a really neat design, and then it almost looks serrated, that kind of thing. So this is a behind the scenes kind of look where Barker and I were going back and forth, and there were probably there were 3 main versions of the sword, and they were all a different kind of serration, and one was absent of serration, and nothing felt right. And so it's one of those things where you just go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put all 3 types of serration on this blade. And because why not? Because let's see. I jokingly say with Barker, it's called being goofy. And I use the Hulk gif, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always goofy. And what I mean by goofy is sometimes the coolest way to get that sword is to put together some things that don't make sense and shouldn't work. And then you finesse them until they work enough to be unique. And so thank you for mentioning that sword, because we put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
And
it was just kind of like a back and forth about, is this something that this person's ancestor would have used in a fight? And I think not. I think this sword was given to them as a reward for something, because it's a good falchion for hacking and slashing, but it's very pretty and its design is very ceremonial. And so this might be the first time it's ever been used in fighting. So yeah, I love that idea, and going back and forth with you, Tim, on the serration and just going for it in all 3 directions was really cool.
Yeah, and I think we got some of this with the marrow, especially from you, Barker, where one of the things I love about this art and the people we've seen from Enkea is they always look like they have the gear they need, because that's what's important, right? I've seen so many adventurers, especially for role-playing games, fantasy role-playing games, where they have all of these things on them and they're sort of just tchotchkes, I love that they have a pot hanging from their backpack, I guess, that is also full of great stuff, and they have a bedroll. No, they have the things they need, and they would. And that's one of my favorite things, too, is by bringing that realism, quote unquote, in my opinion, it makes it cooler, because you could have given them a bandolier of vials that are all different smokes and that's very fantasy, but you're no, but I need something to cook my food in. That's what we always lose, so I love that.
I have to camp and boil something, and I have to boil my water, and I have to make sure that the blight doesn't get into it. I have a spoon that's connected to me.
Utensils, a cup probably. No, you need these things.
This person does not sneak very well, because clang, 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 but that's not their purpose, right? So, yeah, good call.
Someone in the chat has mentioned, Barker, something. Did you see that it's Jeremy? No, sorry, JD. I feel like these 2 pieces of art we've seen here are connected. Both people are running along either side of the orchard row.
Yep, I'll probably share after this. First of all, before I forget, stay tuned in the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. This is where you're going to figure out when this Kickstarter goes live. That's where I'll post the image where I actually did take both of them and I put them opposite each other. It's very artistic. It's clearly not. You'll see that when you see that both of these orchard rows it's mirrored. It's not a line of trees, but you'll be able to see both
zooming
art pieces
out
at once
and showing a bigger picture. Yeah, it's
exactly. It's an artistic rendition of what their surroundings are, which I think is really cool. Going back, you can see. I screwed it up. That's fine. I'm going to fix it anyway. But you can see that the blue light from the musket is reflecting off of those the apples, right? So yes, they definitely go together, and I will share that in the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. Really quick, I'm going to stop sharing because I did mess up the art pieces. By going backwards. The pictures are very finicky. So I'm going to reshare now, and we're going to jump through to the next pieces. So there's this interloper. This is a Crossley Leaguer. And this is a look into our art process with Tina. This character is called an alchemist. They are a master of the arcane. They are a master of using Varia, harnessing Varia, using Magitech items like gauntlets and certain weapons and research tools. They sometimes have arcane heads-up displays is the best way to term it. And this person is investigating the weather patterns around Adrian Pass and why they've not just changed, because Adrian Pass is almost an outdoor greenhouse. It's contained by magic to be the perfect temperatures, the right temperatures at all times. Even though those fluctuate occasionally, they're fluctuating way too much now. And not just fluctuating a bit, there's tornadoes coming down from the sky, as you can see in these art pieces. This character is in charge of investigating a lot, and they're extremely worried about the state of this town behind them. You can see it in all three of these frames. There's a town. There's one here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. And then there's on the middle frame, the town of Armistice can be seen at the bottom. Armistice being a symbol of, built as a symbol of the peace that was made in Enkea. And then in this third and rightmost frame, we have Armistice in the top left. These are three variants of this cat-like humanoid. If you might not be able to tell from your vantage point here, but this person is cat-like in appearance. And I love all these poses. I'm not going to say which one I think we're going to go with, because there's still conversation to be had, despite the fact that we kind of settled on our favorites. But, and if you have a favorite, share it in the chat for sure. But I love the middle one. I love how they're looking at this scroll. And something you can't see about them is they have a bandolier of other scrolls and tools. And I love the rightmost one. They've got their coat up, blocking them from the rain and the wind, as they're using this magical, this Varia to investigate the sky and to see what's causing this. To read, not just read the weather, but to see in real time the physics and that are sourced in this arcane storm. Spoiler. Not really. The cool thing about adventure kits is that there's a roll table of things that are happening, not just one thing. So it's really neat that you can pick and choose. I want to go to the next one. It's 1:52 for me, so we have 8 minutes. I want to go to the next one, but if anyone has anything to say beforehand about the process or whatnot. All right. Well, this next one is really cool. It's another example of the process of creating the art, and we're working with Alexander Kostick from the Shadows Over Drift Chapel fame, also Dead Man's Guide to Dragongrin. Phenomenal artist. Absolutely. That deserves its own hour-long Zoom as well. He and Tina both. Here you go. This is the silhouette of the adventure kit as our formulating it will look like. Adventure kit, the battle for Arctor's Vault. The tone and theme of Enkea to me is very master and commander meets ironclad ships from the Civil War that are soaring in the sky. And so you're going to have some magical energy in that logo somewhere in the text, the battle for Arctor's Vault. There's going to be some magical energy that's webbing outward and infecting, we'll say, the surrounding area. So that's what I've got for everyone. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to leave this up then.
Yeah.
But with 7 minutes left, so we'll just say like 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions or anything I forgot? I just thought of something I had forgotten, but so consider what questions you have.
I would say go ahead and go with whatever you forgot, and then I'm happy to stick around. I know some of us have a hard stop at 4 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to stick around and answer the questions from the beginning of the stream.
Me too. Yeah, good call.
So whatever you have, man, do your thing.
Sweet. Oh, well, the battle isn't just a surrounding dressing to this adventure kit, but we hope to hit an early stretch goal to develop cinematic mass combat rules, narrative, storytelling, cinematic mass combat that is loyal to the character sheet you're using, no matter the system. Of course, all of our adventure kits are built for 5th edition. This one, I think, is going to carry the system agnostic torch a little bit more than previous editions. But any character sheet, any character that you bring, no matter the system, we're developing a narrative cinematic mass combat system that will take your character off the page, put them in the mud and the muck and the charges and the valiant defenses of the battle itself, and create a very Helm's Deep like story. The ebbs, the flows, the upgrades you get from gaining of morale and of your forces, for instance, counterbalanced with the enemy's secret weapon. The moments where Theoden foolishly says, "Is this all you can conjure, Saruman?" before the wall explodes and everyone is now in close quarters combat with massive enemies. The system that we're designing behind the scenes to do this and accomplish this is optional for the adventure kit, but it has been my dream for a long time to make a mass combat rule framework that is not tedium, that it does not involve moving little miniatures around a map, though maps you can have, or commanding large-scale armies around kind of a battlefield map and then rolling for lots of troops at once. The rolling for lots of troops at once you won't really be doing, but you can still command your armies in the cinematic mass combat rules. So this is the Battle for Arctor's Vault, our third and upcoming adventure kit. And lastly, I'll just say, stay tuned in the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. Stay tuned at AbTabletop, at AbTabletop on Twitter. And you can follow me on Twitter at InspireTheBarks, and also on Twitch. And I'm always talking about stuff like this. So that will only increase in the coming months.
Yeah, and I know Mr. Matt Click, I know you got to get dapper and have somewhere that you need to be. Is there anything that you wanted to throw in or add with the last few minutes, or anything that you wanted to say?
I just want to say, like, I am really excited for this adventure kit. I feel like Shadows over Drift Chapel kind of took what an adventure kit could be and kind of, you know, pushed it a little bit forward, elevated it a little bit, and Arctor's Vault is no different. It's gonna push the concept of an adventure kit and elevate it a little bit while still being a book that you can pick up, and if you're familiar with adventure kits, if you've played previous adventure kits, you're gonna know what you're gonna find in there and know how to flip through it and use it as soon as you get it. I'm really excited to work on it, and like Barker was in town in Washington a few weeks ago, and we just talked a lot about Arctor's Vault and the mass combat system, and some of the ideas that Barker has, even ones that he hasn't mentioned in this stream, are very, very cool and really exciting, and I cannot wait to work on them and get them out to people. So I'm going to a puppet show today. I'm going to like a big, it's like a Jim Henson style production with like sets and big animatronic puppets and stuff. And it's my daughter's first like live performance thing. So I'm going to go do that. But please stick around, everybody, because I think that the other three guys are going to hang out and answer questions and talk a little bit more about stuff. So that's going to be me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Have fun. Take some pictures. I'm so curious to see
Yes,
what the set design and the production looks like. You know,
me too. I will take some pictures and some video. And it's actually something that T and I kickstarted. We helped kind of fund the production or whatever. And in exchange, we actually, you know, get to go see it for free. Well, not for free, because we, you know,
sure.
We also get like T-shirts and stuff too. So anyway,
That's
I'll share pictures and video for sure, so folks can check it out. But
Awesome. Have a blast.
happy pool party, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the stream.
Rock and roll, man.
Right.
Wow, now that he's gone, all right.
All right,
So
let's talk
Yeah, I
about
can
the
take
real
his shirt off. Oh my
yeah,
God.
all right. Let's
Take my shirt off.
Put it
James and
around
I are
my
wearing
head
the same
zone.
shirt. We're both wearing mouse rat shirts. He's actually taking his
Is
shirt
he really
shirt
taking
off.
his shirt off?
Yeah, oh, he has an undershirt. James, I thought you were going to pull through and then surprise everyone with the other shirt you have on.
Yes.
It didn't come off.
We have
I tried to do it around my headphones. It didn't work.
8 new questions in the chat just from your. No, I'm just kidding. From you taking off your shirt. I'm just kidding. But I kept track of the questions, and I kept track of who asked them for the. James, that is a Rock Band T-shirt that is cooler than most of the other T-shirts that I own. It's from the game Rock Band, and it's got all these like foil print. If you have more questions, please continue. I believe that I have grabbed all of them so far. And so,
if you want to get started on the ones that you've grabbed, I'll follow along and I'll just pay attention to any new ones.
Perfect. The final one that I have is from Michael Anderson from what seems like a moment ago.
Yep, Dragongrin, perfect. I'll keep an eye on any after that. I love that question. I'm excited for you to talk about that.
I'm actually going to couple it with Thrain's question because they're very similar, so it's perfect timing.
Did you want to keep screen sharing? There's no harm in it. I
was actually gonna see if I could like cycle through them, but you know what, my pictures are not allowing me to do that. So no, I'm gonna stop screen sharing.
Okay, well, so Tim, if you wanted, you could, but I don't think you have anything to share. But yeah,
I don't have.
Okay, yeah,
I have the questions. Okay. So Thrain says, after finally tackling Dead Man's Guide, what have you learned, and do you foresee an even bigger project in the future? So that's a really good question. I don't think that it's a simple answer to say what we've learned. We've learned a lot. I would love to hear what Barker and James learned. What Tim learned was that that's something that I would probably only ever do once. So a book of that size with the team that we had is probably the best way to put it. But I think it's something that I wanted to achieve. So it's an accomplishment. It was a climbing of Everest kind of thing. For me, I don't think I would want to, for where our company is at this minute, do another project that big because it would bottleneck us again. So as we grow and as we get more freelancers and so in the future, I would definitely be okay with doing a project that big and being the project manager or assistant project manager if, say, we did this same kind of a book for Nkea, but had the staffing appropriate for a book its size and the scheduling appropriate for a book its size. The other thing I'll say quickly is that there's a very small part of me that wishes I would have released a little at a time so people could digest it. That's only a small part of me because I think that the book that it is, it's like sometimes as an artist, you say, no, I am telling you that I am driven to create a double album. It's what I want to do. It's what I'm envisioning. And this is definitely a double album for us. Maybe an anthology. But it's a very special kind of thing to create that much for the world and then hand it to somebody because you're asking them a lot, which is why we made the book canonically, hey, ignore anything in here. Like, just pick something from this page and it's your Dragongrin if that's the only thing you use. So for Tim, I wouldn't do one anytime soon. And I learned that sometimes it's better to release things a little at a time so that they can digest it and learn it and love it.
This will be very quick. I learned why you decide the page count early in the book's production and that it doesn't change as you go. If I had to pick one thing.
I learned that a single ship caught in the Suez Canal can disrupt all freight traffic, even if you're not going through the Suez Canal.
Even if you're nowhere near it.
I learned, first of all, that we need to nail down processes.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Not very quickly, but after a bunch of writing, we realized we had kind of cloven too closely to what is expected from every other company's campaign setting. And in the alterations made, in the advent of the crux and like the new stuff that we added, removed, changed, it was a bit stressful because we knew that we had delivered everything on time previously. We had nailed it over and over again, and now we were confident that we were going to miss it, that we needed to come up with a new plan to get everything out as close to on time as we could have possibly gotten. And now, of course, as if by some poetic injustice, there's these VAT regulations and issues that are keeping people in the UK and EU from seeing the book. And I'm so sorry. I hope the PDF is tiding you over right now. But I learned that we need a process that involves I mean, I learned that we need a process that involves bringing someone in to teach us how to make processes. That involves someone getting us started in that direction, and we've done that. I also learned that the great hardships of creativity. This is no excuse for, mistakes made, but the great hardships and the great mistakes put your feet to the fire, and they are the hot ember that is forged into a sword. They make greater goods, people. I am so thankful that we didn't say, you know what, we're close to making this just basic campaign setting guide like all the other companies. Let's just put it out so we can put an adventure kit out so we can do another Kickstarter next year, or this year, and this year 2 years ago. And I'm so thankful we didn't do that, because A Dead Man's Guide to Dragongrin is the coolest book that I have ever seen. And I see it right now on my shelf. It is, in my opinion, if not my most beautiful RPG book, forget my biases, if not my most beautiful RPG book, definitely in the top 3. And I am so thankful for all the hardships and the mistakes, because it made it better. Again, doesn't excuse them, and now we have processes so we can avoid those mistakes and solve those problems early on. But I don't regret them at this point after getting that book.
Yeah. What's interesting, especially focusing on the processes, is the idea that, if anything, I think that we'll have a higher volume of things that we can make. Not necessarily that we're going to be a supplement every 2 weeks, right? But we have this adventure kit, we have Harbinger, Starforge, we're kind of working on things like the processes, and knowing everything that we know, I think will help us be more consistent. And it was almost like, I'm glad we got our Dragongrin out of the way in some sense. Like you said, Barker, it's like such a beautiful, amazing book. But had we planned that, it would have never been what it is, in my opinion, So it's like, I'm happy now to know what that's like, to know how the other side lives, to go, okay, we're going to write a 76-page book. I'm sorry, you have to cut it. We decided it's 76 pages. You know what I mean? We lived the other life. Now I'm excited to live this life for a little while.
Here, here.
And then Michael Anderson's question, which is, I think, ties nicely into this, is anything new on the Dragongrin front on the docket? Yes. And when we took an audit of all that we had written in that time that Barker had mentioned, we said, hey, we're going to make this different. Looking back, we did a word count, and it was over 500,000 words. It's like 500,000 words we had written. And if we were to put all of them in the book we were imagining, I think, what was it? Something like 1,100 pages as it was.
Yeah, I think it broke 1,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Like, just at a rough estimate, like, depending on art. Yeah. Like,
and one thing we did not want to do was have 2 books.
Oh, yes, right. That was not an option.
Yeah. Which, because that was a discussion too, right?
Yes,
so
yeah,
exactly. So there is a lot of cool stuff that will dig deeper into things that are mentioned in A Dead Man's Guide. So, as an example of some of the things that you might see, there is a whole wonder section for the Typhons, for the Lords of Ash, for Lightfall, for the Desolation.
Sun.
The Copper Sun is its own region, which is a wonder. So it was like, and much of that is halfway it's
like developed.
It's developed. Some of it wasn't, we were like, hey, this isn't going to fit. Let's work on some of the other things. But some of it is 100% finished and just needs to be edited. So yes, the answer is yes. Also, and we're figuring out the exact details and the exact methods. Right now, it'll just be, I don't know, I got to come up with a code name for it. It doesn't need a code name. We know what it is. It's the monster book for Dragongrin.
That's
but I
the
like
code name, right? It's not going to be called that.
Project, yeah, right?
Project Monster Book.
Baby Monster. No, so we realized very quickly that if we put a stat block for every single monster in the book, I mean, that's not even included, by the way, in the 1,100 pages.
Oh yeah, right. That's just like because we already yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's I think that there's about a dozen, if you count the marrow each as separate stat blocks. I think there's like a dozen stat blocks in the book. And so what we're working on now is taking each of the regions, and there's a sort of an animalistic style monster. There's like a thematic monster. So we have these kind of patterns that each region follows. We have art for all of those things. That's really most of the art in the book are the monsters. Making a book of those, and there's more to come on that. So that's kind of the next big Dragongrin thing I think we wanted to do is the monster book. I don't know if there's anything you guys want to mention about that.
Well, at this point, we've just given advice to people like, hey, you know, this monster is you can use an archetype in the monster manual for this, for a kite, you know, for instance, or for, you know, Crocod and Sphere Below, which is the real. But the Crocod is the best example, I think, because it's this beautiful vision of like a bat, but instead of being able to like use echolocation, it uses chronolocation. It's blind, but it can see through time. It sees through where you'll be in the future. And so you'll see these things swirling over gangland battlefields 3 days before the fight was scheduled, so that you know it's going to be rough. And we need stat blocks for that. That deserves its own 2 pages, you know, or 3 pages, something, because it needs its own hooks, it needs its own stats. And it was important to be able to deliver the monster in Dead Man's Guide to Dragongrin like we promised, and then be able to embellish on it and flesh it out in its own separate book that will do it justice.
Yeah, and to some degree, because of how much content, right, Tim said we had, I mean, we cut and we cut and we cut, and there was still too much, you know, and we cut and we cut, and it was just like, so what it did end up becoming, in a sense, was we started to have to look at stuff and take away some of the extras, like a stat block for a monster, right? Like, you want that to be in the book. You really want that in there, like Barker said, you know, but it's like you have to get rid of something, and especially those of you that have the book, if you look at it, what part would you have gotten rid of, right? Try to play that game if you want. Look in your Dragongrin and go, okay, which thing can we lose, you know? Don't tell us, because I'm sure that people can find things they don't like, right? But I think you see what I mean. It's just, it was very difficult. So at the time, I didn't know what would happen, but I'm now very excited that we have the processes, I guess, right? Like, that's kind of like the missing thing. There was a part of me that thought, if I never see that Dragongrin stuff again, you know, at some point before the release of the book, I was like, I would be okay. I would live my life happy if I never had to go back and
we all had our moment of that. We all had our moment and experience. Even Tim, the creator of the
mostly
world, was
do,
like, yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But
so,
yeah.
So that's what we have planned. So at some point we will figure out a way to release some of that other cool Dragongrin, those wonders and those locations and things like that. We're not sure exactly what shape that'll take. And then some sort of monster book. And in the same way, I'll just tell you what my goal is very quickly for it. In the same way that I feel that we approached a campaign setting and did it differently and made it more usable for our playstyle personally, I want to do that same thing for a monster book. And so it's, in my opinion, not going to just be all right, here goes a chunk of stat blocks. We kind of want to take it that next iteration, that absolute tabletop flavor of including stuff in there that's going to make it cool and fun to run these monsters and make it exciting to pick up the book, because it's going to be easy to run. So anyway, that's kind of my thought process for where we're at with it.
Yeah, I wanted to jump into the chat, Barker, unless you had something else. There were just some very nice things and people saying things. Jeremy says, you guys running AbTab in your way and in your time is what makes it a company worth following, which I just wanted to point out.
Wow, thank you, man.
Yeah, and somebody else said, Cole says, I love that you take us along on your process and updates and stuff. And Jeremy said, it maintains that approachability of the 4 of them as creators. And of course, they're talking to each other. Also, Cole threw out that. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I appreciate that, because now what it means is now we just need to figure out how to do that on purpose.
Exactly. Do it on purpose more often. Have people come, not on a YouTube channel with only 2 subscribers.
Yep.
But yes, exactly. So I do appreciate that, because that is our goal, and it's great to know that people see it, right? Some people might wonder where we went for a couple of years, but it's like, well, when we came back, we had something, you know, and it's like, we appreciate the people that stayed because they're like, no, we know them and it's worth it. And so, yeah, it does mean a lot.
Mappernomicon briefly says, am I the only one nonplussed by over 1,000 pages? Like, I'd read that. 2 books? Don't mind if I do. Give me all the stuffs and knowledges.
Matt McCarran said, get rid of the cover. We can fit more pages.
He then also says, a dead monster's guide to Dragongrin, followed by Mappernomicon's The Dead Man's Guide to the Dead Man's Guide.
Right? I'm the type of person that would write a meta guide to our huge book. That's twice as many pages explaining all the decisions we made.
We did, and we cut it. There
Right,
is a
actually, we
section
did
in the
that.
book that was we added up. We were like, this is gonna be like 30 pages. It's called Wielding the Shadows, and it explains how to use. I was like, now
Like
all
how
that
to
stuff
use
is.
yeah. Oh my god.
It was an
That's so
extra
good.
layer outside
Yeah.
of the instructions. It was like a meta editor's view. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff, and we're excited when we build a process to schedule that. That's the key, not just go, we're scattered and we're making all these things because there's only 4 of us, and say, hey, no. I've learned from Marvel, you just keep making good stuff, and it doesn't matter if you announce that it's coming out in 2024. People are like, great. So like, hey, 2023, you might see the second, I don't know, whatever. So, I don't know. Yes. So, I have a few more questions here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Meredith Gerber asked, what is your favorite current tabletop game that is not AbTabs?
She didn't have to say that is not AbTabs, by the way. I'm kidding. I'm sort of kidding. I realized I was kidding after saying that because Dead Man's Guide.
Well,
I
and
always
Mission
have the
Manual
same
just came
answer.
out, right? Like Mecha Hack. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of, yeah. Yeah, right? I get what she meant.
Well, and so I can say that for me, my favorite game, my tabletop game that is like absolutely just my new favorite is Iron Sworn.
Oh, right.
It just, it's a machine that is a narrative engine that's built to constantly give you new stories forever. So that's my new favorite, and I'm very excited at some point to figure out, and I was even talking with Keel yesterday in the stream that James and I did, like porting over some of the Dragongrin lore to the Ironsworn rules, and like what would that look like, and what's valuable, because Ironsworn's so lean but still capturing the soul of Dragongrin. So it's my little code name for that one, Cole, as you mentioned. Tim, I love code names. I call that Dragongrin Bleak Iron. So yeah. So what are your current favorite tabletop games that is not AbTabs?
I'm gonna hold up a couple real quick. This one is neat to read. I've never played this game, Spire.
I'm so glad I didn't grab my
Christopher
Spire
Taylor.
because I would have
Oh,
said
yeah.
the same thing. I haven't played this,
We
but
would
it's
have been
so
in
cool
the
to
same
read.
shirt with the same
Same
book
RPG.
choice. It would be too much. It's
Would
too
be.
good an idea. The world isn't exploding. The universe is caving in. No, I always hold this one up. Everyone, to the point where everyone expects dread right now. This book was gifted to me by my Absolute Tabletop companions for a birthday years ago, and this is the game where you use a Jenga tower as your primary mechanic. And what I love so much about this is I don't use the book really. I use it like some people might successfully use Dead Man's Guide by flipping through it, grabbing something, and running with it. But I love this book.
Yeah,
This
right.
is
Not
this is always gonna
necessarily
be my
beginning to
answer.
end. Yeah.
Are
For
you-
me,
I was
this-
gonna say I didn't know if you were gonna be like mine was also Spire, or yeah.
Oh no, and I it's funny. I was looked at it. It's next to. There were a few games I've been reading a lot recently. The other one's Dishonored, which I could have grabbed, but I grabbed the other one. But it was just very funny that he did Spire. No, but for me, Fear Agent role playing game. This is sadly, it's a Savage Worlds game. It is sadly a little bit. I hate to say cash grab because I don't know that they made money on it. But this was a comic that I read that Tim introduced me to that I really enjoyed. But the production level of the book isn't high. Like as far as like. They used a bunch of stuff from the comic. There's not any new art. Like the layout is just fine. Like it's an amazing book, but it just we did a stream yesterday about concept versus execution, and the concept of this book is everything I want, and the execution is lacking only in that it's everything I've seen because I've read the comics. But it is still amazing to have this is like a displaced humans style, little bit of like retro futuristic, if you can see like the style. They've got like a ray gun and they've got big like bubble helmet kind of thing. It's this really interesting thing where humans leave and then the Earth gets destroyed and now humans are sort of scattered to the cosmos, and they run into aliens, and it's a Savage Worlds game and it's a lot of fun. And so yeah, that's my favorite one right now.
Beautiful. Great answers. Fear Agent as a comic is it was just such a neat concept at the time. So I'm sad that, I don't know. I'm both sad that happened, and I'm also, I'll say that I'm proud that as book developers, we're able to look at a book and say, oh, wow, I wish I would have done this way. Yeah. It reminds me when I watch directors talk about other films and things like that, and I don't know what constraints they were operating under, probably budgetary. But,
yeah, I think because the game design is great, and there's like a bunch of little adventures and stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's just there's nothing new. Fear Agent, it's all just stuff. From
and that.
It's just too bad, but
different. Yeah, too bad. That's a great way to put it. So,
I'm happy that it exists at all. Is kind of the way I look at it now.
And I understand that sentiment. So the next question is from Logos Sarsgaard. Forgive me if I said that wrong. Adventure kits are almost a form of discovery writing, where the narrative is discovered through roll tables. What is it about this kind of dynamic storytelling which inspires you?
So immediately for me, we often say at AbTab, like, we make what we'd use. And the other day I did a stream looking at Campaign Master stuff and Faction Master, 2 books that were, Be a Better Game Master books we made here at Absolute Tabletop. And I think you're right when you say it's kind of like a form of discovery writing, because we give you just enough to beg questions, I would say. And I say give me too. When I look at it, I go, oh, well, we tell you that there's a sword and that there are runes on it, for example. But we may not tell you exactly why or where it came from. And that's the discovery. Like, when you start asking those questions, it's almost like a bunch of other RPG books, in my opinion, answer too many questions. And then you take the answers they gave to the question that the original writer wrote, and you put that in your game, and it's cool. But with the adventure kits, I feel like you take what we wrote, and because there's like an extra level, that next step where it's like, oh, you kind of have to do a little bit to make it yours, it makes you put your spin on it, and it makes it cooler than we potentially ever could have, and it fits into your world. And so if I'm understanding the correction, what does that do? How does that inspire me? It is the way I am inspired. Like, the reason the books are the way they are, because that's what inspires me, that style of going, well, here's just enough of it. How much do you want to keep uncovering this, or do you want to move to the next one and maybe that'll grab you,
I would throw out that the footprints in the snow are more like talons, and they are 4-toed instead of 5. And they walk through the snow for 1.5 miles before the trail stops completely. Where did that thing go? If that's it, and that's all you include, and that's all you ask the players, or that's all you ask the GM, or that's all I ask Tim and James right now, you're going to get so many cool ideas. Look, maybe this thing has wings and it flew away. Maybe it was moving to the spot right at the base of a ley line where it could teleport back to its interplanar dimension. Maybe it's a person who, as a part of an occult ritual, has clipped off 2 of their toes, and they moved to the end and it stopped because there's a body there, right? There's the track. It's not just the track stopping. It's not completely empty. There's a body there of this person who has completed their ritual and has now had their life force pulled out of them by a sorceress 10,000 miles away. They can lead anywhere. And so the cool thing about that level of storytelling is exactly, I think, what James said, which is just enough. It's just enough to where it's not basic, but it's enough. But it also has that level of, you can use whatever you want from there. I can be like, okay, footprints in the snow. Forget the 4-toed thing. Forget that they stop. Let's track something. As long as you have those foundations that are kind of multi-level. Cole just said that was when he carried you, Mark.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. I was waiting. I'm like,
oh my God.
Who's not going to mention North Pole? Jesus.
Oh man, yeah.
Okay, that was fantastic, and a perfect way to cut this point off, but just enough, like James said.
What it excites me. There it is,
What it
guys.
excites in me. Yeah, I don't know.
Is that so? You kind of say it's kind of like discovery writing. Yeah, and that's what it excites me about.
You're cut
Round of
off the
applause,
water.
ladies and gentlemen.
Stop drinking the water.
Hey, if you wanted someone who could talk smart, you should have got a languager. So something that excites me about adventure kits is that they are like discovery writing, and the roll table is the prompt. Like Barker said, that's a really brilliant idea. But one of my favorite things about RPGs is that it simultaneously gives me two sensations. It makes me feel like I'm writing a story without having to do the work of the actual writing. And it makes me feel like I'm watching a movie. And there's nothing else in the world that I know of that can do that the way that an RPG does it, with the freedom that it gives you. The reason why I love the adventure kits is because it gives me just enough to like feed logs onto the fire to keep it going. I just grab a log and throw it on the fire. I don't ever have to feel like I'm like, oh, this is what do I do next? This is going out. The flames are going out. So that to me is, I'm a naturally, I don't know. I naturally like to talk. I'm a storyteller. So you just keep putting logs in this fire and I'll never shut up. So that's what I love about the adventure kit. And now that we're going to have 3 of them, being able to go from one to the other and have the battle for Drift Chapel or Oath of, Panlupe or whatever.
Frozen Vault. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, like, listen, I would love Oath of the Frozen King with Eldritch Abominations.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Seriously.
Right, exactly.
And a battle backdrop. I don't know.
That dynamic storytelling inspires me because it's just enough to give me a what if. So, great question.
Good answers, by the way, team. High
I was
five.
going to say, Jeremy honestly had a couple. He said, adventure kits are like a box of chocolates. You can look at what morsel you want and just nibble on that if you want.
Ooh.
And he also said the ideas from adventure kits are like one side of Velcro, just eager to stick to things, and in parentheses, your own ideas. And I really like that because it is like, you kind of can't look through an adventure kit without your Velcro getting stuck to something. That's
I love
cool.
that.
That's really
Jeremy.
cool. Yeah.
Jeremy, would you be open to, I don't know exactly what the plans would be, but Jeremy, would you be open to us using that as a quote maybe somewhere? Maybe on the Kickstarter page, maybe in somewhere else.
Maybe on the
I'm
cover
gonna
of
get
the
it tattooed on my arm.
book. Yeah. Right.
Maybe tattooed on
We went to
Barker's arm.
Different ridiculous extremes.
I was thinking about a tiny microscopic tattoo teardrop of that quote. Figure it out.
That would be
Figure it
so cool.
One tier for Panlupe. That's what I'm getting.
Just a Panlupe.
What you're looking at says, what RPG product do you wish was an AbTab product? Either because you feel you would have done it better or different, or because you love it.
That's an interesting question because, and I will say, I don't think I've ever looked at something and said, I wish that was an Absolute Tabletop product. Because usually that would just give me flashes of what we would have had to have done and how it wouldn't have fit. Like, just such a specific perspective, right? This is important. But,
right.
like, I don't think that I've ever really thought that about a book. Yeah. That's an interesting question. What about you guys? Anything?
Reread the question for me.
I put strange inflection on it because I didn't realize there was a third option after the slash.
Oh, okay.
So I gave you 2 options with a slash and then a third option with no inflection. What RPG product do you wish was an Absolute Tabletop product? Either because you feel like you would have done it better or different, or because you love it.
Story engine. The story engine cards.
I thought you were going to say Dread.
No. Dread is awesome, but no offense to the creators, The Impossible Dream, I can do a Jenga tower game, and I've already started one. That's I think is even better because it's built on the shoulders of giants. The story engine cards by Peter Chakowski, Rock Paper Cynic on Twitter and everywhere else, absolutely amazing. Recently, I was privileged enough to write for the story engine Deck of Worlds, which is the world building deck. As you know, one of my proudest achievements was publishing this book, Be a Better Campaign Master, building the world, all about world building. And all I could think of while writing was, wow, this is such a great idea. And I wish that this was a Be a Better Campaign Master thing. Not to say that we won't, decide, well, what about dice or something? It's always a good conversation of a way to like homage someone else's work while creating your own. I have yet to call or email Peter like I've wanted to for so long and ask if he'd be interested in partnering for us, but I'm sure he's taking baths in gold coins right now after the Story Engine Deck of Worlds Kickstarter. I love those cards. Absolutely recommend everything Peter Czakowski puts out. They're so good. I have it all.
I will say I relate very much with that feeling of when I see certain things, I go, I can't wait to do my version of that. I can't wait to do what that inspires me to do, and very much, yeah.
Right. I'm laughing because I thought of a really stupid joke in the middle of everything, and I couldn't put it out of my head, and I'm really sorry. I'm not laughing at you.
Oh, no, that's
two.
okay. No.
I thought
Yeah.
Peter Czakowski he has the money, he paid to have himself digitized so he could take a bath in Bitcoin.
Wow. Yes.
On the set of Space Jam 2.
I love that.
That's so stupid, and I kept thinking of this like 8-bit version of someone like from Wreck-It Ralph taking a bath in a Bitcoin. Anyway, I apologize. And Barker, I checked out that you wrote on that Kickstarter. It did so well financially because it's such a cool idea. And like you say, there are always different ways that AbTab would do it, campaign setting guide. I think that you have a deck in you that's going to be the thing that's like, oh yeah, only Barker could have made that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thanks.
So for me, it's a cheat. It's a cheat answer because kind of peripherally. Mine is Ironsworn. Once I've played it and experienced it, I've never seen a game that has the balance between quantifying what actually completing a quest is and the narrative. So like your quests have hit point bars, and to not even speak of the elegance of how that's handled with only 10 boxes, that was just like, oh my gosh, I've never had a group of players who was brand new so quickly go, how do I fill in more of these? And that's the quest. And they just think, well, okay, so I need to try to find out, what are we trying to do? We're trying to unlock this mystical box. Well, we got to find out a locksmith. We got to find a mystical locksmith. These are brand new players, brand new. And the reason why I say it's kind of a cheat answer is because Sean is Matt's dad, and we've partnered with him to co-publish Starforge. So it kind of it isn't ours, but we have direct access to it in a way that no one else does either.
Yeah, it's as close as it could be without being a product of ours.
Yeah.
The oracles, though, Tim, just to piggyback on that answer, this is not necessarily choosing the game itself, but the oracle system is so attractive to me. Ask the Oracle. That's a great podcast, but I mean, the oracles inside Ironsworn are my favorite feature.
Dude, and just the way that you have, there's also a small chart, and it's a roll table of probabilities of things, and the only choice you have to make is how likely is it? Very likely, not likely, probably, and then you roll to see if it happens or not on a D100, and so that's also really helpful because the players can suggest anything. And I say, oh, well, it's not likely, but maybe. And then you roll, and if you get that weird percentile, it's like, yeah, it turns out you do know about that crazy mystical box that's from another dimension. Can't say enough about the Oracle system as well. It also makes it way easier when it's the oracles doing mean things to your character and not you as the DM. It feels very like, hey, I'm not the one that said broken family. Those weren't the two words that I rolled. Or that I chose. I'm not like, the DM's gonna kill your family. Anyway. Next question is from Ben Buckner. When starting your art process, do you create, owner of Buckstar Games, check him out. Do you create a theme board for the artist to use as reference? Absolutely. It is imperative to make sure that you're both looking at the Rubik's Cube from the same side. Because I could describe the exact same Rubik's Cube to you, and I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm looking at it. It's got a top, two sides, green, red, blue. And you're like, no, mine is one dimensional. It's just a square and it's all white. We're looking, even if we are so close, I have to say, this is a photo of how I'm looking at the Rubik's Cube. So yeah, mood boards. James and I have mentioned this a couple times in the streams we've done for Pool Party over the last couple of days. But what's the phrase you landed on, James, for like touchstone, I think was what we were calling it?
Touchstone, yeah, or context is another one where you're trying to get on the same page,
Yeah, so like saying things like, think Mad Max meets Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, touchstone on that.
Let me throw out there what I said earlier. Think Master and Commander meets, Civil War ironclads.
Exactly.
Through the sky.
Yeah.
And then, so let's use that exact example. So for that, if I'm trying to have an Enkea airship drawn, the first thing I need to do is either, like, if Tim's in charge of figuring out what it looks like, I have to figure out what I want it to look like. Barker is the project manager for Enkea, so I would say, I need for you to send me 2 ironclad ships, 2 or 3 that you think look cool and why they look cool. Because that's the other thing with a reference board. I hand an artist a piece of reference, and I think that the deck of that ship and the shape of the crow's nest looks awesome. The artist thinks the way that it's flatter than usual and has a bunch of rivets and windows is awesome. They'll ignore what I think is cool and just make their own version of what they think is cool, unless I am very explicit. So you'll see a lot of us have smartphones where you can circle things after you take a screenshot. That's like what we do constantly. Is Barker will pick, hey, this is a real ironclad ship. It's a pencil drawing from way back. He'll circle, love this, want this gun, don't like this weird thing. I hand that right over to the artist with my notes of what I think, and Barker has a conversation with me of, hey, this is what I'm going for. And he just kind of talks. He just talks to me. Hey, this is... And then I pull pieces out of that, and then I translate that to the artist. And then from there, we get some sketches. And then from that point, I'll refine those sketches. Then I'll hand it to Barker when I feel like it's what I think he'll like. And then he gives feedback. And that's pretty much the process. So that's a very in-depth answer, but I want you to be equipped. Absolutely. Never plagiarize, but there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, that's pretty much the pauldron that I love. Can you do a variation of something that shape that has that kind of a strap that goes down the chest? Then the artist goes, yeah, I know exactly what you're asking me for, which makes it easy. So hopefully that helps. And I don't know if Barker and James, do you want to throw anything in?
I like that you mentioned I just talked to you, because almost all of my messages to the art director about art end in an apology. I'm so sorry. This is probably not helpful for you, because this is what I've told to Tim. I have a really difficult time with the fact that what I'm imagining in my head won't look good on the paper. It just won't. But I can't see that until I see the page. And that, without a good art director, is wasted time and wasted energy and wasted resources to go back to the drawing board. Not always wasted. Tim is the kind of person that looks at the bright side of everything. It's like, no, it's not wasted because this, we got this. But see you later, JD. Thanks for tuning in. But we have this. Tim has a remarkable ability of being able to translate the stream of consciousness into some bullet points. What I imagine are some bullet points for the artist, so that the artist can give me what I want, but still be themselves. That is so important to me, that whatever artist we're hiring is not copying, pasting what I'm thinking of, but someone like Tina, who can take what I'm thinking of and bring it to the next level, who can take certain direction from Tim as translated by my 5-6 minute voice message about, combining a couple characters into one, and then make it happen. And so this it's been awesome to witness. I don't want to just go on and on and on, but it's been awesome to witness that side of the creative process.
Well, thank you, man. And I think that one of the benefits that I have, it's an advantage, really. is that I know your taste. Having worked with you for years, I think I have a pretty good sense of what you like and what you gravitate toward. And that is the tricky part when you're not doing art direction for yourself. So that is something that helps me. So when you send me a 6-minute voice message, I'm like, okay, I know Barker well enough. I know exactly what he's talking about. And if I don't, I can get what I think it is out, and then you tell me where I need to tighten it down. You know, so it's a process of just giving it a shot. It's really like art and art direction. And that's a whole other stream. Like, I think that a lot of really, really talented fantasy artists suffer from art direction that is, all right, these are what orcs look like. Make them look like orcs. You know, like, I could see some incredible rendering and I'm like, oh, I see where you were headed. And I don't know whose idea or decision it was, but this is an orc. This is an orc. And everybody knows it's just your spin. It's not like a recreation of a dish. It's like, yep, that's chicken cacciatore, textbook. So,
and again, it comes to, piggybacking on that, it comes down to the concept versus execution. A very good artist was handed a flawed concept, or a concept that was just a regular orc, and that's what you get. You know what I mean? You get exactly what was art directed. But yeah, when I am getting art done, I try to consider all the tools. I am not great at describing exactly what I'm thinking to another person, so I'm going to use every tool that I can. So similar to what Tim said, like circling stuff, it's not just a mood board, but like a Google Doc, for example, of like he said, the ship I found, but I'll go on this ship, ship number 1, I'll label it and it'll be a doc. On ship number 1, I really like the wood grain in the mast. There might be one thing about it that I love. And then another one, I really like how, the portholes are not all the same shape. And I, in fact, might write too much, when it comes to that. But I don't think artists are ever sad about that. But again, you are supplying the concept and they are in charge of the execution. So it's almost like you can never blame them if it doesn't come out like you wanted. If it's not a matter of the lines not being in the right place. You probably didn't hire this person if you don't like their art, their style, as Barker said. So yes, further than just saying you should have a mood board, you should do everything you can to give the impressions to your artist to make sure that you're on the same page, because that is the hard part.
Yeah, I want to give a warning label with all this, which is I'm talking about artists who are mature in their craft enough and skilled enough to be able to put out these things that I'm asking for. So as we started out, you contact artists on Reddit or Instagram or wherever, they might have one style. They might have one thing they can do, and they might not be able to give you the things that a Tina or an Alex can at this point. When I say to Alex, hey, we want to do like Conquistador armor meets Gollum, like not from Lord of the Rings, but like a golem.
I thought you meant Gollum, and I was like, wicked.
Yeah.
Nothing sounds bad when you say it, Tim.
Right, yeah. Cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing where like, all right, give it a shot. And then you see what you like about it. And then before you know it, yeah, but the thing I want to say though is that be mindful in the same way. If you're a writer, if I said, hey, can you really just kind of change your voice a little bit? You might not be able to do that. You might, no, this is it. This is all I got. This is my voice. So we're talking about artists that we're hiring professionally who have enough experience and a portfolio that I can point to and say, oh, okay, they can do these things. That's huge.
Yeah, but if you're hiring an artist, it should be an artist.
I don't want you to hire somebody on Fiverr or hire somebody on Reddit who is also trying to get started and then give them these unrealistic guidelines. So anyway, I was going to just read some comments real quick from the chat, and then I guess we can kind of start wrapping it up.
Perfect. Then I'm going to go finish watching Inside with Heather.
Oh, yay.
Awesome, yeah.
She was a wonderful, albeit heavy.
Yeah, I was like, I can't wait for the word. Yeah, but heavy.
Yeah, it's Woo. I can't watch those kind of movies when my family's away on vacation without. I was unable to go. I made the mistake of watching Interstellar when my wife and daughter went to Indiana. Oh wow, that was one of the poorest cinematic choices I've ever made in terms of timing. It's like, I won't spoil the movie, but I was crying, like ugly crying. Anyway, Cole says the chemistry among the four of you guys is the secret sauce that makes AbTab stuff so great. Thank you. And I do realize how fortunate we are in that. Like, I get it. The four of us do have a very unique, and we all work together really well. I appreciate you saying that because it's lottery situation, in my opinion.
Even those moments when our heads clash a bit, it's never, even in you know, every organization, every group has its bottoms, but so many people at the bottom say, well, I guess this isn't going to work. Use this as an excuse to just split up and fragment into, you know, their own islands. And something that we have is the ability to take every single moment of argument. I don't know they're always so versatile, so I don't really have a name for it, but those moments where you think, wow, this is really difficult, and use it as a growing experience, or being able to move to the next level, use it in a way that can not just move the group to the next level, but move you as an individual to your own next level, because that is equally, if not more important than the former.
And I think the four of us, again, thankfully, are committed to changing and improving ourselves so that we can work better together. You know, there are behaviors that aren't good for a work relationship. And if that becomes a pattern and you can have a discussion about it, and then you make those behaviors stop, it helps the work relationship. So outside of being like best friends in the world that play video games and, you know, watch movies together and stuff, you have to be able to work with people. And it's very different working with someone than it is hanging out with them or enjoying a movie. I heard in I was watching this really great screenwriting video, and Barker, the word that they used for it, talking about a writer's room, and the head of the writer's room was, he said, disagreement is beautiful. He said, it's the disagreement that's beautiful. He goes, you shouldn't argue, but disagreeing on the best way to do something means that you both have an idea that you're passionate about. And if you can come to an amicable agreement of whatever you can, that's the secret, right?
Because I'm a sucker for semantics, and maybe that person said you shouldn't argue. You shouldn't fight. You shouldn't fight. An argument is the disagreement. It's synonymous with an argument, right? But oftentimes we confuse an argument for a fight, because it's good to have argument. It's good when, and I'm going to struggle to think of one immediately, but it's good. Early on, coming up with colors for a Be a Better Game Master book. Hey, how about red and yellow to Tim? And Tim said, I'll be dead before I put that ketchup and mustard crap in a book that I'm art directing for. And it wasn't a bad argument. It was a quick argument, but it didn't turn into a fight because I never thought of it as ketchup and mustard. Anyway, that's maybe not a great example, but I think I love that analogy. I love that anecdote, Tim.
Well, and especially, I agree with you, Barker, that semantically, what I feel like they were saying was, don't attack each other personally. You're allowed to be passionate about your idea, but make sure you respect the person that has another idea they feel is equally valid, right? And it's like, if you can get out of that, which sometimes can get heated and cannot feel great, yes, then that's where it's like that is that beauty, I think, as you said, Tim, because you're like, we will likely land on the best of two ideas that two different people had that we wouldn't have had otherwise. That's a really cool way to look at it. Yeah,
and Barker, I don't think that is lost on me. That's not pedantics to me. That's clarification. That's refinement, you know? And so to me, I think you're right. Don't fight. And to me, that I think it's hard when you're less mature working together and being friends to separate. It's not me we're talking about. It's not you we're talking about. It's the work. It's the products. It's the company, you know?
I'm going to throw out one little concrete piece of advice for anyone that might need it, even those who might not. Yeah. And this is advice that I falter at. And it's all about slow improvement. You're never going to get perfect at this, right? It wouldn't be it wouldn't be your bad side if it were easy to overcome. And so whenever you feel that rush of fire in your gut of I disagree, or I vehemently disagree, or I don't like this, whenever you usually feel it in your gut, this might be projection, I do, step away and don't respond for an hour. Can you do that? Can you not respond for an hour? Can you leave and come back? And even if there's, where there was one message before, now there's 60 voice messages that you have to get through. Can you listen to all those 60 voice messages without responding to a single one? Can you pull out a notepad and take notes about the things that the other person is saying that you can then remember when you're responding? Is it possible? It's difficult. Calling it difficult is the understatement of the century, especially when we a lot of us, myself included, we have Twitter brain, where it's like, no, right now, boom. Can you step away for a minute? And the first thing that'll happen, I think, is you'll come back and you'll realize that you are seeing it through different eyes.
Yeah, the fire's gone.
That fire. The fire is gone. Yeah, exactly. And it might come back when you're reading through the messages. So just be sure to, keep an eye on that. I hope that helps anybody.
That's very good concrete advice. And that goes that's helped me in my personal life. It's helped me just that attack mentality of like, I got to tell them what I'm thinking right now is you never want to react. You always want to respond, and it's very easy to react.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I wanted to mention, and thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for the comments. We're getting a lot of comments that people are really enjoying the behind the scenes of this. Like, that's one of my favorite things, is that we are just telling you how we learned it and what we learned. So, one of the things I want to say is that now, if you came to me and said, I want to do red and yellow, this version of Tim with this much experience would go, awesome, a challenge. Let's make this look awesome.
Yeah, let's find a way.
Crimson and brass, huh?
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Like, not thinking, oh, that's ketchup and mustard. Because there are a couple of combinations that are pretty reserved. But now I see it as, okay, subversion. Like, Halloween is orange and black. Christmas is red and green. Ketchup and mustard is red and yellow. Like, there are a few that are very reserved to Tim. It doesn't mean everybody would think that, but I know that now I'd go, okay, give me a few days.
I imagine you think of it as, okay, let's show Barker what he means. he doesn't want that, but I'll show him what he wants. That's how I feel often.
That's a funny way to put it.
Something I do love, though, is it's a little different because you guys are talking specifically art, but I mean, it kind of really applies. There's this thing that happens when I tell somebody something, and then they say, I don't want that, or I disagree, or my opinion is different. Where, similar to what you said, similar to the fire, but in a sense, you sort of immediately harden. But there's this power that comes from, and part of it is like what you said, Barker, sometimes it's showing you what you want. But in a sense, some of my best ideas are the things I'm happiest about. Cassie and I might have been talking about something, and she totally misunderstood what I said. And she says, oh, like this? And by saying, well, my instinct is to tell you no. Because your question is this what you said? But I go, now the answer is, that's not what I said. But let's hold on a minute. What you just said was, that gives me, it's like that idea that we think that our opinion is the most valid. And I say we, right? I should say I. But like, some people can feel that way, where they can forget that the other person has that same feeling, the exact same feeling, And I just think it's important to realize that, because it's like, once you have that respect, you go, okay, let's look at both. And like you said, Barker, we might think the thing that I was so into is like, oh, you're right, this is ketchup and mustard. I don't know what I was thinking. But that is going to work 100 times out of 100. Whereas trying to convince you is never going to work. It's like, let's do the easier way, So communication is key.
Totally. The analogy that Tim mentioned about make sure you're looking at the same side of the Rubik's Cube applies to more than just art direction. Exactly.
Everything. Yeah, right. In general, like in life,
Yeah. Ask a question. Hey, just to be clear, so
I got all the way to the restaurant we were going to for lunch today, and I told Cassie, I said, nobody said out loud the name of this place to me. I'm pretty sure this is the place, but we've all kind of been talking about the same place, and that's a good example. I'm like, I could have been on the wrong side of that Rubik's Cube.
You ever have that moment where you go to one of the two locations and it's the wrong location?
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yes.
And and it was almost that. I was just like, I think this is the place, but yeah.
This is a cousin to that, but I was sending out a text. This is now, oh wow, geez, my daughter's 7. Oof. Whoa, time. This was probably 5 years ago, and I had a luthier coming over to my house to fix one of my guitars. So as one does, as I do in text, sometimes I will speak very colloquially. And I was like, hey, we're going to just meet at the Carnies. And I meant me. I meant my home, my house, my wife and I. And everybody showed up at my parents' house. And I was like, where is everybody? They're like, we're waiting for you, dude. Where are you? I was like, no, you are not waiting for me. I'm here. They're like, we're at the Carnies. And I'm like, no, I'm the Carnies. Like, shut up. You're not the Carnies. I was like, oh.
That's not what that word means, right? Apparently.
Yep. Should have just said my house. My house. So,
you'll never go wrong clarifying. Not you, anybody. Nope. Same thing with communication. Like, I'm always like, okay, so tomorrow, Saturday, at the one on the lakefront, not the one at the, and they're like, so many times people be like, whoa, no, you're going to a, what? We're going to get pizza at Malnati's. It's a place in Chicago.
I was like, did you just make up a surname?
No, that's the place that I went to one of 2 wrong locations. We were all taking separate cabs in Chicago to Lou Malnati's, and on the way in separate cabs, I'm Googling it. I'm like, wait, there's 2 of them. Ooh. That was my first experience with that, actually.
Well, I was just going to hit a couple more comments. And then if you guys have anything else you want to mention, and then we could probably wrap up.
Sounds good.
Cole said red and yellow says those old school communist posters to me.
Right, yeah.
See, can't argue. Again, you know. So she said haberdashery is important. She said, also, I just wanted to use the word haberdashery.
Fair.
I didn't know what it was until the Hateful Eight came out, and I had to Google it. I think I said the word Hateful Eight. The movie Hateful Eight came out. The next comment was Josh asking a quick question, and I'll answer. Tim, do you associate color combos with teams? As a Bengals fan, I recoil at black and yellow. I don't, because of the way that my art brain works. The team is so much more, because there's usually a logogram. There's usually a single icon. There's usually 3 or more colors on the full color scheme. Mm-hmm. So there's that's not as easy for me.
There's a full logo. Sorry, I know. As someone who knows Tim's and has been working with you on this Arctor's Vault logo, I have learned that logo is not enough to say what you're talking about.
So I'm able to decouple that. Though there are some that are more likely for me to kind of think of it, but I'll ignore it. Like blue and orange. I don't know if this is nationwide how popular it is, but for us, it's the Florida Gators. It's a very popular college team. So I
was gonna say they're popular enough, that I think even some people outside would know. But some
Denver Broncos.
I was gonna say some of the combinations are like you do remember. Some of them are like crazy, or because like you said, there are like 3, but like blue and yellow is like kind of Chargers can be, right? I don't even know if they're called that anymore. But like there are some that you don't often see together that when I see them I think team, because they're like, oh, that's the like blue and orange is a good one, where I'm like those don't usually go. So I always think Gators when I see it. It's also usually Gators when I see it, right? That's unfair, I guess.
Sure. Confirmation bias. No, well, Barker, I appreciate you sharing all that cool stuff about Arctor's Vault, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And this has just been another reminder that we shouldn't wait for a pool party to hang out like this more often.
Yep. And
so we definitely will try to make efforts to make that a thing. And thank you all for spending the afternoon with us. I hope your afternoon is or wherever time zone you're in, the rest of your time is amazing. And thank you. Hopefully you've had fun at the pool party. I'm going to dry off and probably take a hot shower and, play some video games.
I'm going to take a nap in the chlorine because I didn't take a shower. I'm going to take a nap in the chlorine. I'm going to get yelled at by my mom.
That
Yes.
little bit of heat coming off you as you lay there. There's like a fan on you, and there's just like a haze of heat around your slightly sunburned body.
you smell like
Tim forgot to mention he put his swim trunks in the sink.
I did. I thought that was normal. That's how we did it at my house. Was you'd find the bathroom and you'd put it in the sink. You wring them out and you leave them in the sink until they dry, and then you put them in the laundry so they didn't get the laundry wet. And so
smart.
we were
Don't ruin the mystique about it.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't just rando like.
Well, that's what's funny. What you said, yeah, you find the bathroom and you put your underwear in the sink, and
your
haven't
trunks.
exactly, your trunks, yeah, but
Mostly. So we were at Matt Click's house for the first time.
by volume.
And so Matt goes, hey, or someone, I don't remember who said it. Someone walked out and goes, hey, whose swim shorts are in our bathroom sink? I was like, oh, those are mine. Why? What do you mean why? That's where you put swim shorts. So, anyway. Well, anybody.
Pirate stream in an hour. Pirate game in an hour, says Cole.
Oh, yes.
I thought it was the kitchen sink, by the way, that you put swim trunks in. But
it was
I'm
his
definitely
bathroom.
remembering.
It
Okay.
was his bathroom, yeah.
That's better than the kitchen sink.
Yeah,
That is a lot better
That's
than the kitchen
ridiculous.
sink. Right?
I put my towel over, like I hung my towel up, I wrang it out, and also too, there's no guarantees, but I think that I also don't crumble them up. I think I like lay them over so they'll dry. But that's stranger, because then it looks like I'm walking around with no pants. Like someone's walking around this house with no pants and underwear. So
we need to get together at AtCon next year, please.
Right? Yeah.
All right.
So lots
Thanks,
of
Tim,
great
for hosting.
comments, but yes, thank you.
Thanks to
And
our 5 subscribers.
5
10
now,
no,
right?
9
Yeah,
now.
10, yeah.
9.
Boom.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And until next time, have fun. Happy gaming all. May your dice roll high and double tap peace. Greatest hits.